Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Jagged Edge. This is Ian here along with Chris.
Welcome, everyone.
Hey,
Welcome
hope
back to another edition.
now what is this, like mimicry night or something? I mean,
We're so glad you're here.
you're so mellow it's creepy right now. I'm just gonna
Oh
put that
yeah,
out there. Chris has had a long week. I have too.
it's time for Jagged Edge After Dark.
No, look, promise me you'll never go on a jazz station. Maybe the whole '90s alternative angle, I could see it.
You know, truth be told, a long time ago, I don't know if this is necessarily true with the kind of context and content I like to talk about, but I was told that I have a perfect voice for doing a show like that. That I obviously have a very low voice, but if I actually went with it, that it would be very good for that. But I don't know. You tell me.
I think here's the deal. It depends who knows you. See, voice is one thing, but actually knowing you, that's the funny part.
What do you mean actually knowing me? Like,
I don't.
what,
I know how that sounds. I know how it
I
sounds
sound like I sound like a big man. I'm actually 2 feet tall.
Yeah. you're just not the guy I imagine with the saxophone. That's
No,
it.
my dad played saxophone though.
See, you're the guy with the lead guitar, like the electric or whatever else.
Oh,
That's what I think of.
all right. Well, that works. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. So back away from that nonsense and on
No,
to
we're
our scheduled nonsense.
no, you're still kind of on topic. You know, we're switching conversations here, but this is a Switch show anyway. Specifically, yeah, you see what I did there. We're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch for our main topic, but we're loaded with a lot of news of some other trailers that came out this week, just a few little
Hold on.
tidbits and all that good stuff. What you got?
Is that really the main topic?
Well, for as much as we Marvel and Legion and everything else, one could question that, but that's the hope. I hope that it is.
I think that's a metaphor right there for what Nintendo wants to be the main subject, but it's going to get overshadowed by something else.
Distraction tactics, are they? Oh man.
So we are going to talk about Switch. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Now, as a preface, neither one of us, I believe, unless you surprise me in the last 24 hours or something like that, neither one of us have purchased a Switch.
I have not bought a Switch. I have had my hands on a Switch. So I have played around with it a little bit, but no, I don't have it. I openly said I'm not going to buy one. So
Yep.
All right, so you can rage about this all you want, but what I'm going to be talking about are reviews that I've seen and read about it, and I don't. We normally share notes a bit, but we actually have shared very few notes tonight. So I have no idea what Ian's bringing, other than he usually brings more facts than I do. So we'll see what we got, and we'll see if we can come to any conclusion that's worth any merit at all.
Well, I won't fact check you. That's the deal with this.
That's good because I actually made up every single thing I'm bringing.
All right, good. You can be that guy. All right. Well, since we're on it, and we do have some outstanding pieces of news there, let's hop right into that. First up on the list, this came from From Software, from the president of From. There's a article out in a couple of sources this week about Dark Souls. Anybody who's looking forward to this becoming the next Call of Duty for Medieval Slayers or Medieval Combat, whatever else, please don't. This came from Mr. Miyazaki himself. He's noted that for now, at least for the time being, Dark Souls is done. They don't have plans to add any additional expansions or anything else, but there are still a couple of games in the works. At least 3 titles that they've been confirmed as working on. They're not giving us many specifics yet, but looking at this, I was kind of glad. I am a big fan of a very popular series, kind of going out on top. You have a good thing going, don't drive that into the ground too much. I can't say they necessarily cut their teeth in Dark Souls because it wasn't the original precursor series to everything else they've done. But it's really important to know how significant this series has been, right? I mean, we've heard about this for a number of years. It's been their biggest title. It's sort of where they went after their other flagship, after working on Mecha, aka Armored Core, for so long. But I don't know, it's a neat one. Bear in mind, this comes from a guy who never owned a Dark Souls title. Of course, always respected those and checked out about everything there is to check out on them, but I've never actually gone through one start to finish myself.
I've played it a bit. Now, you and I are no stranger to From Software. We've talked. You just kind of hinted towards that. Huge fans, fanatics, super fans
Oh
of
yeah.
the Armored Core series. We've loved them and we've hated them with all the passion that you can, depending on which one you're talking about. I've never owned a Dark Souls game either, but I have played it. I have friends who love them, played them extensively. I've clocked some hours in on it. Did he say why they're done with it?
Um, as far as for specifics and just talking about the series, he really just kind of waxed about where they gone with the series, where it had been, as far as where it stands now, and it's just simply something that they like to depart from for a bit. You know, from I like to highlight From are kind of famous for being sort of nebulous, this kind of thing. They're even famous for their nebulous storylines that kind of always leave you on a cliffhanger that don't fully connect. Uh,
No.
no, really, right? But I should stay and be really specific about this. This is not just a temporary suspension. I was mentioning, e.g., for the next year or two, we don't want to do any. This was really an admission that the Dark Souls series is completely done. Um, as far as again, they're looking really at new works and the next thing to go over into, and then that's not anything for From. I think that they tend to hit a niche and try and run with that, and then hop on another idea. And, well, that's not successful. Go to another one. Even if it is successful, go on to another one. But they're moseying on. So
Here's the thing. By the way, do we know what the flagship is for the company now? Did they take on? Here's the thing. And why I say this is because From Software, which has been around since the 80s,
right.
it was bought out about, what was that, 3 years now? 4 years now?
Yeah, it's been about 3 or 4 years. Katakawa.
Katakawa. So are they talking through From, or is this Katakawa, or who's making the decision here?
This
Well, ultimately Katakawa is, but I guess I'm saying, where are they coming from on that?
yeah, on the creative design, this is really coming out of From.
Okay.
And of course, we said they're an absorbed entity at this point, but the creative team, especially the famous CG team, they have remained very tight. And this sort of spokesperson, the mouthpiece for this group, usually seems to be Miyazaki, the
Okay.
From's original president. Yeah.
So this is bullshit. Every bit of this is garbage. It is. Look, here's the thing. Because if you know From Software, you know that their current or their previous flagship series was Armored Core, which we were huge fans of. I say were. I think that's appropriate.
No, that is appropriate. Right? It's very
right.
appropriate.
So here's the thing. If that would have been making money, we'd be playing Armored Core 6 right now.
Yep.
End of story. From Software is not in control of their own destiny anymore.
Oh.
So the people over at Katakawa are going to look at how things are going as far as sales and what From Software is doing for them, and they're going to be like, "Where's our Dark Souls money, motherfuckers?" And that's it. That's it. There will be another Dark Souls.
The question is, how long is this this whole ringed city thing going to go on? I think it's a DLC coming out for Dark Souls 3, and I don't know how expansive that's supposed to be or how long that's supposed to carry things over, but that's right. As far as what they have right now, yeah. But hey, valid point. From is no longer in a position, even from a creative angle, necessarily say, hey, this is where we are and this is where we're going to be. They may want to say this is where we currently stand, but as far as what they design and what they do, and hey, there's bottom lines, there's margins. So
that's what it is. I mean, and that's where the gaming industry is now. Now there are smaller independent people that create great artistic games who create games like that. And there's even every once in a while you'll get one that comes out of a major, and that's fine. But From Software, I think, has always tried to be one of those. We do it for the art of it. We do it for the fandom of it.
Yeah,
maybe they were at one point, but that's not them now. That's not why they were bought out. They were bought out to make garbage games. But not just garbage. Well, they were, and you know
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
The original release of the amount of titles and the kind of titles they were going to be working on when they were bought was ridiculous. But they hit something big here with Dark Souls, and that's what it's about now. I mean, this guy can say whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. You'll see another Dark Souls. I guarantee it.
look forward to it.
I whatever.
If
Well,
you, if you can,
if you like him, I hope it's good for you.
well,
Do I sound like a real pessimist?
no. I'm just chuckling. I mean, because dude, you're right. I mean, look, we've been through a lot of these discussions, with AC and other things. It's just funny, and it's just a huge sense of irony. I guess when they did have a direct creative control of this, and as opposed to where they stand now, and what they actually can do with it. I can never help but I think it's just a
I
sad chuckle now. That's all I got.
I suppose the alternative to this is we're going to focus our energies on other projects, and hopefully one of those projects is as big, if not bigger, as Dark Souls. Then maybe not. I still don't think so though, because I
Yeah.
still think that they'll be like, look, retread this shit, repackage it, put some new stuff in there, push out another title, because that's Katakawa, if I remember. They're not a gaming company at all. They're an entertainment company in general.
Right.
I believe they specialize in mangas and anime. So they don't care.
Yeah,
They don't care. In fact, that's why they bought From Software, to make games to go with their other entertainment properties.
well, hey, you get
So-
others behind your IP, it goes hand in hand.
Right. So I mean, again, it's going to come down to the bottom line, because they don't care. They're not in it for the art. They're in it for the let's make money off of this. So, and like I said, if From can come up with a way to continue to bring in other other ways to bring in money, then they probably won't care. But if not, you'll be seeing another Dark Souls, and I hope it's good.
There you have it, folks. Well, how about speaking of being in it for the art? What about DC? You think this whole Justice League deal, they're in it for the art, or
God.
how's it looking?
So the Justice League trailer came out over the weekend. I think it was like right after we recorded the last show. So you're asking me what I thought of the trailer first?
Yeah.
You want me to drop my opinion? Okay,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Here's now. I have been negative towards Warner Brothers and DC when it comes to them handling the DC universe. So, I went into this as open-minded as possible.
Right.
Understanding where my perspectives are, and try not to buy into the hype of being a Marvel fanboy or a DC hater or whatever. Because I'm not. Well, I am a Marvel fanboy. I'm not a hater of it in any way, though.
Don't worry, I'm one too. So
The biggest thing that I asked myself, I watched the trailer. Actually, I think I watched it twice. And the biggest thing that I asked myself at the end of that was, do I want to see Justice League more, having seen this?
right.
And the answer was yes.
Good.
It did interest me more. It's a fun, very Zack Snyder-esque trailer.
Yep. Yeah, it is. Especially, we get more fleshed out introductions of, well, slightly at least, Flash and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and the rest of the gang. Remind me as well, if you guys want to check this out, there will be a link for this if you want to check out this trailer or one of the others we're going to mention if you want to kind of supplement what we're talking about here. But yeah, this has been in some shaky legs. The project
Boy.
I've been really unsure about, but in the same hand that you want to see succeed, though. I say, hey, the more really solid hero flicks you can get, the better. And this is something that DC is still very early in its infancy on. Of course, Batman versus Superman, they staked so much on that. I think overall it didn't quite have the impact they were looking for. So,
No, it missed the mark by just a little.
Yeah,
Just a little.
just a sliver, just a sliver.
Just about 500 million or so.
Nah, no problem though, right? But here you have it though, Justice League. I mean, this has had so many incarnations too. I think it's important to highlight. The Justice League animated series had plenty of airtime. There were a couple of different incarnations of that. Of course, you had a number of different versions, within comic continuums themselves. they're always a really pivotal group when it comes to DC. So if you're talking about uh, placing heroes together, marrying, partially marrying some of the universes, I can't think of a better group to do it. And now I'm interested. I'm interested in this, and maybe you caught this because I sure didn't. I'm wondering who do you think the main villains are in this one? What were they up against?
Well, that would be my complaint. As interesting as this trailer was, it was completely void of plot. That was the other thing. That was the
Yeah,
second thing that I asked myself was, do I have any idea what this movie is about at this point? Well, obviously part of this movie is about getting the Justice League together, but the villain, the story,
right.
it's not. It wasn't there.
Yeah,
It wasn't there. And again, I'm trying not to be negative, but if I'm being honest, that was kind of disappointing. At the
yeah,
same time, it was not unexpected.
right. And
So it didn't hit me that like, I can't tell what's going on. Well, I can't. You can't tell what the hell's going on in this trailer.
no,
But it's not the teaser. I would think with it being the first official trailer, we would get some sniff of the story.
right,
And you don't. You cannot. Not, well, I guess if you're a hardcore fan and you can see a lot of what these things are, then maybe you are. But for
right.
a comic book movie fan, for a comic book fan, but not a big DC fan, I didn't know who the hell those villains were. I couldn't have told you. So, yeah, and you can't tell. The trailer is completely, I would say, shallow. It's very shallow.
Yeah, and I think you seized on the key point. One thing I was really expecting going into this trailer was a focal point. Now, it didn't have to be the Legion of Doom. I think that'd be one of the most cliche things to do. We're going back to old school Justice League, but at the very least, a powerful force like Brainiac, something like that. In fact, the moths and everything we see, I was thinking, wait, is this some kind of Legion controlled by Brainiac? Is that the angle they're working with? Are we going to see some kind of compilation, maybe like Solomon Grundy and gang at some point? I was just trying to look and just any smidge I could see and nothing, which is weird. DC has no shortage of really powerful villains, and
Yeah.
also villains that cross between the barriers of certain comics. Villains that Batman and Superman have shared. Wonder Woman and others. For goodness sake, the first one I always think of is Darkseid.
Well, no, and if you follow these things like I do, and I think you do know this, the villain for Justice League is Steppenwolf,
Right.
who is a blood relative of Darkseid. But if you
Right.
don't know that, you can't tell that.
Yeah.
So I know that, but at the same time, I still don't recognize all that, and that's just because I'm not the biggest DC comic fan.
Right. Right. And same. I mean, even if you were, I think you'd be hard pressed. You'd have to. It seems you have to really know what happened in all the Infinite Crisis storylines, because, like I said, every X amount of years, all the different Earths and the parallel universes, there's a huge culling, and everything gets narrowed down again into a sustainable continuum. So I'm as in the dark too.
But it was cool. We had to see. Geez, I can't remember the actor's name. Who's playing Commissioner Gordon? That was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It did a good job at making me interested in Aquaman, to which I had zero interest before. I still have zero interest in Cyborg, though.
Same. I have a.
Not buying it.
Here's what sucks. I have a really hard time divorcing Cyborg from Teen Titans. Like, I see him, and I think Teen Titans, okay, first comic wise. Then I step back even further. I think about Cartoon Network, the animation that comes out. I can't get him out of that. It's really difficult for me to take him to that next tier and be like, okay. I consider him as like serial as like Bats is or something like that. I
Mhm.
can't. So
So yeah, no, it was a good trailer though. Overall,
yeah,
I mean, my complaints about Zack Snyder stands, which is that the guy knows how to frame a shot, and is probably one of the best at doing it. But his stories are just lost they're lost in him trying to get the prettiest shots, and we've seen that a few times already, especially with Batman v Superman.
yeah,
So I'm hoping, like I said, it makes me want to see it more than I did before. So I'm trying to be optimistic about it. We're 7, 8 months away yet, so we're gonna get at least one more trailer. I'm hoping that, unlike Batman v Superman, they don't basically ruin the whole movie on the way to getting there. Those, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh
Those
yeah.
trailers leading up to that was ridiculous. I mean, I think it was the last trailer, and I was rarely will I come away from watching a trailer being upset. But I was upset because it's like, I don't need to go see this movie now.
They tell you most of the movie, right? And it's funny you mentioned spoilers because the other big one we had that dropped the Spider-Man another expansion of the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer rather. I thought that was a little spoiler heavy too, but I'm in the same hand. I'm not disappointed. E.g. angry that like, oh, you just ruined the whole film for me. I mean, there's some things I already pre-established, and we knew just from a few shots before Vulture was going to be the main focal villain. You knew obviously Stark and others were going to be involved, which is cool. That kind of puts this as like an Avengers Point 5 feel. I love that in Civil War, even though that was a Captain America movie, and I'm really hoping they can bring that same feel to Spider-Man. I love it. It's just something else in addition to those hidden clips you get at the end of the credits that this is all part of that expanded universe. We know that, but it's always cool to have that reinforced in a way. So
I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
go for it.
It's kind of funny because I didn't think I'd see the day where a Justice League trailer makes me want to see the movie more. The Spider-Man Homecoming movie made me want to see it a little bit less. I did not like this trailer. It gave away too much. I agree with your original point saying that it gave away a lot of the plot. It gave away way too much. Way too much. What? Okay, so I'm still excited. Still one of my favorite movies or most anticipated movies of the year.
Right.
But yeah, good God, you gave away the whole arc that Spider-Man Peter Parker is going to go through.
Yeah.
It's all right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's going to be other parts to it. I'm sure it's not quite, just that. Because, it's going to be a 90-minute to 2-hour movie. So,
right.
But yeah. And, I think it's going to be a little misleading because the second trailer is way too heavy on Tony Stark, and the movie, I'm sure, is not going to be. And it better not be.
I agree. I mean, especially when you're talking about a story that is not going to bother going through the entire origin. Because we've seen it a million times. We know. We get it. The question becomes what type of content do you fill that with? How do you fill? And I think a lot of Spidey fans, myself included, were really glad for once that okay, you're not going to take that block of time up front to establish the radioactive spider, to establish Aunt May, to establish Uncle Ben, to establish the purpose, and with great power comes great responsibility. Done, done, done. Now I don't have to worry about that. We're straight into story. We know where we just came off of Civil War, and there's a lot of potential to work with there. So, hey. Yeah, there were a number of things revealed, but my Spider-Man hype can't die, man. It can't. It's impenetrable.
All right, just don't punch me like you were punching yourself there.
I'll try.
You could hear that. You could absolutely hear that.
No,
I appreciate that we're not going through the origin story again. I appreciate that they're doing something brand new with the whole Spider-Man Tony Stark thing. I mean, they've had a relationship in the past, obviously in the comics. It's kind of funny because their last one, before they've basically offed Tony Stark here in Marvel Comics right now. But it was kind of funny because it's kind of a reverse situation where Tony Stark is his stock is plunging, but now you have Peter Parker, who's now has Parker Industries and is basically the crazy, ridiculous rich guy. And it was interesting dynamic. And then you got Mary Jane in there, and it was an interesting dynamic to see that. But completely different relationship here. And so it's kind of interesting. I think the MCU is in a place where they can do this, though. They can build this kind of new relationship with these characters. One, because of where they are with the universe now, but where these characters are and where they're coming in and meeting each other. So it's really interesting like that. I really hope that Tony Stark does play a smaller role than what these trailers are giving, though. I mean, not that I ever mind seeing Iron Man, but I think that's kind of the whole point, is that I don't want to mind seeing Iron Man.
No, I agree.
And too much of him in this movie will make me mind seeing Iron Man.
I agree. It's always it's a just the right touch, just the right balance to strike, and I don't think Spider-Man's going to have the same luxury of sort of having the same pivot axis that Captain America did. Captain America obviously is such a direct, integral part of the Avengers that that flexibility and room for all of them to kind of meld and see more of them and Thor and everyone else and coexist. It's fine because and again I think there's a tendency to see that as sort of a you have Avengers and then Avengers 0.5, then Avengers 2, and then 2.5. I really felt like Civil War was 2.5. So
it's kind of hard not to be.
It is considering what else is coming, but.
You had all the characters except for Hulk and Thor in there. Pretty much,
you did.
So.
You did.
And I'm glad they weren't in there either. They totally. I mean, both those characters are. Trying to think of the term here. They're so powerful. They can't help but to control a certain aspect. And in a story like that, they would dominate.
Yeah, it kept things pretty balanced. So, in terms of, I think generally what we can expect. Content-wise, of course, I'm just talking about how we're thinking along the lines of Avengers and everything. We do have something else on the horizon that's going to be a little grittier, apparently, a little darker.
Wait. You're segueing again, sir. You're smooth with the segues. You're smooth with the segues, but I'm going to have to stop.
I'm working them.
We have not talked about what I thought was the best part of that trailer. So
wait, but wait, it's not even your final form. All right.
That's right, because we did not even talk about Michael Keaton, who was fantastic, who looks awesome, and who has actually made something happen that I never thought would. He's making me look forward to seeing the Vulture.
Yeah, well, we mentioned Vulture, true, but we didn't mention Keaton, Tim. Yeah, he's adding a really good edge to this part. Most of the time, Vulture enters a picture, you think of someone really frail or at death's door already.
Well, that's because the character started out as like a 70-year-old man.
Yeah, he did. He did. But this is somebody I've always thought that never deserved as much of an air of frail as it was terrifying. And that doesn't mean he has to be like the size of Hulk or something, intimidating. This is just a straight out like scary dude, and will let no one or anything stand in the way of what he's trying to do, accomplish his goals.
Well, it's funny because I don't think there's many actors that could actually carry this character. This is one of those situations where the actor he's going to put that character on his back and he's going to carry it through this movie, and he's not only going to do a good job at it, he's going to do a phenomenal job at it. Just those little bits. That's honestly, I mean, probably out of the two trailers that have come out, that's probably my favorite part. I'm a big Michael Keaton fan, always have been. He looks awesome. It looks like he's gonna bring the crazy, and it's gonna, him and Tom Holland, they're gonna do an awesome job. But in most cases, when it comes to movies, it is the villain that makes things great, and that's what I think we're going to see a lot of that in Marvel here in the next couple of years, which is great because in the past several years, more often than not, we haven't seen that.
Yeah.
The villain tends to be the weaker part of the story. I hope that we're gonna, like I said, I hope we see that in the next couple of years. We see a lot of the villains kicking ass, and I think that we're going to get off on a good start with that with Michael Keaton's Vulture. He looks awesome.
Yeah, heck yeah. You talk about me with the segues. I couldn't have topped that off any better. I mean, villains, Venom.
Oh, did I just segue? Look at that! I didn't even mean to. Look at that. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So good. I didn't even know it.
So yeah,
I'm so good.
Pat yourself on the shoulder.
That's right.
Venom movie to be rated R.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This frames because we talked about this last week. This whole thing that Sony is doing, where they're going to be creating their own little Marvel universe with the characters that they're allowed through the Spider-Man franchise that they have the rights to.
Right.
This frames it for me a little differently. So, I mean, a Venom movie is going to be CG heavy. It has to be, or you're doing something terribly wrong. That being said, making Venom rated R kind of frames this whole universe now as kind of a rated R, low budget, kind of nasty, because it's villains. So far, it's all villains. It's Sable, it's Black Cat, and it's Venom. I, I'm getting a good feel maybe of what they might be going for here. You frame that as rated R, and now we're looking at something different possibly.
Yeah. And you have to look. Obviously, there's a scope on the success of two recently that have had some rating. Obviously, Deadpool and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and Logan. I think who have really spearheaded this, or claw-headed it, however you want to say it. If you're more of a Logan
Nah.
fan, whatever. But even still, I think it's really important to look at that contextually. It wasn't like the ratings themselves were just for fun or whatever. They fit. They fit the arc. They fit the
They
characters.
fit.
They fit the story so well. And I think jumping ahead of time to say, oh, we're edgy. It's a rated R. Is what it's going to be. Stop and look carefully. On the one hand, I understand somewhat for Venom because he's always had a very questionable sense of justice and really
Hmm.
goes about doing things in a much more violent way than Spider-Man ever would, of course. But even still, there's a lot more introspection to him, less, I think, so than just Carnage-style killing.
Well, and they can kind of reframe the whole Venom thing themselves if they're not going to be using. Obviously, they won't be using Peter Parker as part of that. So they're taking the concept of the symbiote, and they're going to have to reframe a lot of that. No, I like this though. Now I'm on board with this if it's going to be a very rated R comic book anti-heroes for adults series of movies and universe. That that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm on board for that. I am on board for that idea. And if that's what they're doing, if they're thinking low budget R-rated adult superhero movies, make it for 30, it makes 800 million. I'm on board.
And there's so many spaces filling up on this comic board. Already, you have to wonder, as you said, well, what hasn't been done?
But what do you
Uh,
think of that? You just kind of went right by that. You just
I would
kind of
not. I didn't
giggled.
went right. I didn't went right by it. This guy. You see.
Well,
You won't even.
what do you think
You
of
won't even.
it?
You won't even let me drive around the gas station and like go in the other entrance. You're like, you didn't go in through the front entrance. You're not going to comment about it. No
That's
way.
all right.
Ah, no.
I want instant gratification now.
This is why we do this show together. This is contrast. But no, again on that point, you look at the spaces that have been filled and what hasn't been yet, and I think this is a special chance for it. I know I don't as often probably as I should stop and think, okay, wait, what haven't they done with comics yet? Comic movies, even though they're still relatively young, the space fills up fast. But as you said, hey, there's no specific carve out for that yet. I can't think of any other series or someone who's done that, which would be great. I think probably the closest thing, if you want to make a super far fetched argument that you even had to something close like that, was Suicide Squad. But I wouldn't even I couldn't quite put that in the category you just stated
I would
there.
barely even call that a movie.
Yeah, so I mean, case in point. Uh, no, heck yeah. I mean, the more I think independent spinning galaxies you have within this like larger universe, all the stuff, the better. I mean, you've got your Avengers in, your Deadpool in, and everything, and hey, there's definitely room for it. And heck, even if
It,
you want to drop a arc villain in that, like Carnage or something, there's room.
right. Well, and that's especially if you're going rated R with it. I mean that makes sense to me, and it makes sense in the context of what do we do when we make a world, a cinematic universe, a world of Spider-Man's villains without Spider-Man.
Yeah,
It's going to be a nasty, wicked world.
yeah,
So
and
holy shit, Sony, you're making sense.
And moreover, how do you get outside of Spider-Man's, I guess, scope or jurisdiction? Now, I never read a whole lot of Venom's like solo exploits or anything, so I don't really know how much that was framed or like the location or everything like that. You think that'll be something easy for them to break away from? as far as that is.
I think it's going to take talent. I think
Yeah,
it's going to take some serious writing and directing chops and some acting chops. Because you still have the biggest hurdle, which is to watch Venom for 90 minutes without missing Spider-Man.
yeah,
And I think that's going to be harder than we can even perceive right now.
yeah. No,
But if they can do it,
hey,
so
absolutely.
which brings me up to a couple questions.
Yeah.
So for this Venom, does he have the spider on his chest?
Mm.
I think you have. I think you almost have to keep that.
If you want to go with iconic Venom, yeah, because again, of course, we've seen some versions that I think the last version I saw that was really warped that didn't seem to have a whole lot of insignias or anything was the one from Ultimate Spider-Man. He was just sort of
Yeah.
a mass.
But
But
who's that? That's Flash Thompson, isn't it?
it's
And he gets recruited by Shield or something.
um they
He becomes he's he's a hero. I think almost entirely.
yeah, well I know Brock is, I mean, as far as
It was
Venom.
Brock. You're right. No. Was it Brock? I don't remember.
Yeah, Eddie
I
Brock.
know very little about the Ultimate Universe. So
Yeah, they had Eddie Brock has always filled that. I know in Ultimate Spider-Man at least, if I recall, Flash was still like the bully at school who just screwed around and just gave Parker a hard time whenever he could. But Eddie wasn't as close as he normally is in Ultimate Spider-Man. He was sort of a very distant friend. He had known Parker at one point, but they didn't work together or anything else. And in fact, he was really sick. He had terminal illness, and that was part of the whole thing that came into him getting the symbiote in the first place. It gave him a way to support his life. So, but
I thought you were going to go on for at least a couple more minutes.
no, I can't afford to. There's so we got so much on the plate already. Still,
All right.
uh,
No, currently on board for that though. If that's the plan, I'm on board for this. I think that there's definitely a niche there. Something that actually Marvel. No, let me rephrase that. Marvel. Oh, geez, I can't remember which movie company did it. They had the Punisher, and they were kind of pushing this direction. They had Punisher and Ghost Rider, and
yeah,
they were going for some kind of Marvel Knights kind of thing. And it was with the second Punisher movie, and I think the first Ghost Rider. It failed miserably because those movies weren't good. But they were kind of going for the same thing. So. But they weren't trying to make rated R movies, I don't think.
right.
So I'm very very much hoping that this is the direction they go in. I will do a complete 180, and if they can do it and they can pull it off, if that is actually the direction they're going in, I'm very much looking forward to that. So why don't you segue out of that?
I was waiting for it. How about you talking about movies are developing that those negotiations going on for the Batgirl movie?
Yeah, this just came out. I think in the last 24 hours or so. Very, very excited about this. I could really care less about Batgirl. I'm not really a fan. I mean, I don't dislike the character. But when you put Josh Whedon behind her, I'm excited about that. This just came out that he's in final negotiations with Warner Brothers to create a Batgirl movie for the DCEU. How's that sound to you, sir?
I've never been a big Batgirl fan either. But in the same hand, I think that's the sort of more lighthearted balance you need in this universe. You know, here's the thing, and I say that I think DC has gone really hard out the gate. Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, like really most of the heavy hitters you can look at in terms of the DC universe. And you flick over the comics, but some of some of the more side characters and some of the spin-off characters. I would have expected being serious like that. We might have seen Nightwing already or something like that, but Batgirl, yeah, sure. This is what gives a hero universe flavor. Marvel's done it well with you have the Avengers, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, but then Ant-Man. Like characters that you wouldn't as commonly read about, but that still make, I think, for a good profile and like a good story. And while of course I wouldn't put Batgirl in the same comedy levels I would Ant-Man in some ways, it gets that point across still. So they need not just characters like this, movies like this, I think, to anchor what they're trying to do.
Well, yeah, I don't think you put Batgirl out there to headline her own movie, especially so soon, unless you have a creator like Josh Whedon behind it. This guy is arguably one of the best female lead writers in the business. I mean, you're talking about the guy who took the the character Buffy the Vampire Slayer and made her into a huge hit.
Yeah.
Not just for girls as a female lead ass kicking character, whatever. No, I mean that show was monster huge. Just great that in general, he knows how to make a good movie. He knows how to develop characters, but he's openly said he's got a special place in his heart for strong female leads. So I think this is perfect. I think this has the potential. Normally I'll say, "Oh, this is going to be awesome. It's not going to be awesome." I think this has the potential to be one of the better movies that ever comes out of the DCEU. You have a franchise creator here, and you have a well-known character, but one that is kind of shallow, and one that does not bring it on their own. But if you put that kind of creator behind them, you might have what could have possibly been, and I'm not going to say they're perfectly relatable, but this is kind of like what you saw with the first Iron Man movie.
Mm-hmm.
This character by itself does not lift things up, but if you get the right mix together, there you go.
There you have it. No, by all means. And that's that we've had all these talks about talent and some of the spread out direction for a lot of these DC films recently. A lot of that's just been kind of like throwing darts in a board. You never know who's going to pop up next. But hey, hope that sticks. Hope that they build on that and get really real solid script and everything else. Maybe we'll see something awesome. Sweet.
All right, you ran out of segues.
No, I didn't. I'm going to a completely random note. I'm taking you off road, and I'm taking you off road because
I already know where it is.
You already know. Yeah. Thinking I'm out of segues. This guy. This one's for car fanatics. This is on a completely random note, just a fun piece of news. Sweet. This is from it's a cooling system developed by Dodge. It's called the Demon. This is going to have the first mass production application of a liquid to air charge air cooler chiller system. So I mean that's literally the car's air conditioning is going to be used to cool the air going into the engine. Of course, it's going to help with temps, drop things down, it'll keep it real cool. Dodge claims that the system is going to help achieve temperatures, and I quote, previously unattainable by pressure-charged street-legal production vehicles. So, sounds awesome. The tech itself isn't necessarily new. There's actually been a prototype of the system that was in the early 2000s called the Supercooler. Some of you might remember that. I heard people when I was in high school talking about this like crazy. I don't know, I guess that was when the whole maybe neon lights hype. I don't know when that started. I'm not as into all that stuff. But hey, if you're a motorhead, this could be a thing. I'm not gonna let this any three feet near my car, of course, but I'm okay. I don't need that much performance. Yeah.
No, this is great. But like we were talking about before the show, I just love the fact that we just talked about comic book stuff for like the last 40 minutes, and now here's the piece on real science. I love it. I'm glad it's back.
In the last couple of weeks, we've had content that we've gone over where we sort of put our usual news and everything aside. But I'm gonna keep looking for these. Whenever I find them, you'll see them pop up. So.
Oh my gosh, we need to have a corner for it every week.
Okay.
Ian's science facts or something. It's great. It's awesome. Hey, it's cool. That all sounds fun. I don't know anything more about it other than all right. Yay.
Well, but jumping back in the comic line, how about Legion?
Legion.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's talk about Legion last. Let's talk about the
Switch. You want to save it? You want to save it till after the Switch? All right.
Let's talk about the Switch.
All right, deal. Now it said you looked into some. I've seen a couple as well, but you had a couple of precursory reviews you read for where the Switch is standing after its release. What's the call on it?
The call on the Switch is from what I can tell. I looked at some of the fanboy reviews, and I looked at some of the people that obviously don't like this thing. To summarize, I think it's fair to say you are more optimistic on this console than I am.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more pessimistic, but I'm not a hater. If I had a few $100 to blow on a console, I'd probably get one after an Xbox, and maybe after a few other things.
I was about to
But
say, and after like I don't know, the PlayStation Go or something. Yeah.
and upgrade even my computer again, even though I just did it last year. But no. You know what? Because I'm trying. No, I probably wouldn't. I don't have a place in my home for this thing, and neither do a lot of people. Look, they tried to make it a big deal how there was going to be 2 million units worldwide, and how that was a big launch. Which, if you know consoles is not a big launch. They didn't even sell out. They did
Man.
not even sell out. Now, I'm sure there's some places you cannot find one, but they did not sell those 2 million units. That's horrible. I it looks fun. It looks great. As a concept, it's interesting. It should have never left the drawing board.
It's funny. Nintendo always has a overarching idea whenever they have a console launch or some kind of central concept. But you got to say, how many times can you try something new without it being like a major pitfall? And with the Switch, I think the thing that I was looking at optimistically with this is like, well, maybe the whole Swiss Army knife approach with those that want something adaptable to be able to say, I'm not into I don't have to have everything at HD 3D,
Yeah.
4K. I just want something I can make it a console when I want. I can go handheld with it. I can convert it.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I get it. Fun in practice, but in application, I don't think this applies to gamers in mass. Especially
No.
where we're sitting with PC gaming, where the big two are today and everything else. This sort of feels like a bit of a Noah's Ark, almost sort of like a legacy from the Wii days. When you had really, really highly priced mainline consoles, the PS3 and the others, Nintendo's kind of like, hey, come over here. We'll blow the price out of the water. I guarantee you'll still have fun. Yeah, people dug that because it was a cool alternative for the time. But it's I think they're gonna have a slightly harder sell here.
The Switch has been very hit or miss by the reviews I've read.
Yeah.
Here, so let me, give you the facts on it. So a lot of people don't like the tiny controllers. I haven't seen any complaints about its versatility. Let's use. I think that's a fair term to use.
Yeah.
The versatility of the console. A lot of people don't like the controllers. A lot of people don't like that there are so many accessories and they're so expensive. I'm joking earlier. I'm not actually 2 feet tall. I'm actually
No, you're giant.
I'm actually more than 3 times the size of it. I'm 6'7". I think we said that one other time in the show. Those tiny ass controllers, not for me. Not for me. Interesting concept. Not going to take much away from that, but it's kind of it's one of the centerpieces of your console. To get the, what do they call it, the Pro controller?
Yeah.
I think it's $70-$80.
Ooh. Ow.
Come on. And then, I mean, that thing's big and clunky too, which is fine. But you're not going to take that around with you every day. I don't buy this concept. Obviously, I haven't bought the console, but I don't buy this concept. And here's the thing. Here's the biggest thing about this. 2 games.
Oof.
2 games. Which really, you can really only count one, because the one game, which still costs $60,
right,
is basically like a concept game for the Switch. Like, yeah, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. Besides that, okay, yeah, you have Zelda.
Yeah.
Give you
Yeah.
props on Zelda, but guess what? I don't need the Switch to play Zelda, and they know that, and they still did it. They still did it.
Yeah, I want to focus on the as far as the feel a little bit here as well. I know one of the main reviews that I checked out was on Kotaku, their channel, and there was a lot of focus on as far as like some of the aesthetics and just like the support, just how the controllers felt and everything too. I know you mentioned those being small for one thing. Uh, First, something small here. These are some annoyances we talked about. The kickstand on the back, kind of flimsy. Feels like it'll
Kinda.
yeah, really flimsy. Feels like it'll snap.
I swear to God, I had a popsicle and a piece of tape, and I had a better stand after I was done eating the popsicle.
And the worry about that is that stand doubles as a cover for like the micro SD slot. So if that snaps on you, then your card is going to get exposed. That could be kind of risky.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the grip on I think it's a Pro, the Pro controller, doesn't have a headphone output. This really puts it behind PS4 and Xbox One, which is...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's dumb.
That's kind of surprising considering modern controllers. That doesn't interfere a whole lot with the charging port. I believe that was on the bottom of it. It's kind of... I guess that's all right when you're holding it because it means you don't have to worry about... can't prop the screen on a table while charging it because the plug have an issue getting in the way. The release buttons you use to detach Joy-Con, they're really small, apparently difficult to press without accidentally jamming into other buttons. Mm-hmm. No HDMI out on the tablet itself. So
right.
If you want to plug the console into a TV, you got to go through some more drama in that. And then the included HDMI cable you get is about it's a little under 5 inches long or so. Or wait. I think it's inches.
Wow, I missed a lot of this when I was at a guy's place the other day and I actually saw one of these things. So, I missed that. I missed a couple of these things.
No, just little details. That's one thing I liked about I guess like Kotaku's review, and props to them by the way. Of course, they go over a lot of the games that were released and like the basics of it. But I thought they got really hands on as far as with players' feedback on how this feels. What are the extras and everything that are included? So, and I'm notoriously off that HDMI measurement. Don't listen to me on that. But
I don't. Maybe you're not. I mean, if you remember, like the biggest complaint about that Nintendo Mini that came out was how short the controllers were. The wires. I think they're literally 2.5 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. That's just it's ridiculous, man. And then on the hidden cost, like you were saying, you got that extra controller out there. Of course, you got to get the games. They're not bundled with software. That's it's going to hit you for at least $60 each. You're saying.
There's the wheel. There's the straps.
Yep.
And I think even like replacement controllers or additional controllers of the Switch sort, I think those are even like only $10 cheaper than the big Pro controller.
Yeah, and it's not much difference. And then you got to think about your storage too. You get 32 gigs of onboard storage. That's probably going to fill up really fast.
Yeah.
Physical games themselves. Thank goodness those don't install directly on the hard drive itself.
Right. Well, you don't need a lot of storage for them because there isn't a lot of them.
So But if you want to get more than a couple of games, from the online shop, you got to get a micro SD card pretty much just to have space. So, and one game is already so large it won't even fit on the Switch's the built-in storage. And then
is that real?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the 256 gig cards cost about $100. So let's say you get maybe hopefully 128 for like $40. But yeah, even then, you got to think, okay, your onboard storage, what you come pre-packaged with, you'd expect, okay, maybe if we have 2 games, if I'm going to install a game or something, maybe at least I'm going to expect at top maybe half that space to be taken or allocated at max. Maybe I'll have a choice, but you can't do that. So
I just don't get it. I'm being all negative Nancy, and that's fine. People are going to hate me for my comments when they listen to this, and that's fine. I'm still the guy rooting for Nintendo that will someday make that giant console return. That will make that one console to rule them all, just like they did. It's not this one.
one has to wonder how much stuff you have to bundle is going to hold it back. I mean, overall, about let's say about probably $200 worth of accessories. Then you got to think about carrying cases and things like that, and then the issue of power. If you want to travel, the AC adapters and all those little special things. Yeah, it depends how much you want to invest in that, but I think this seems to largely come down to what are you going to do with the Switch? Are you going to use it more as like a home dock station? Is this something you're exclusively going to travel with? I think if it's going to be more of a portable thing for you, it seems to be more of a problem taking it
Oh
around
yeah, I
because
mean,
there's
you even talked about what I hate the most about it when it comes to its portable version or its portable versatility. I think the max you get out of it is 4 hours battery life.
man. So
What? What are you doing?
I'd rather just sit plugged in at that point, unless I'm just like popping down to the hotel lobby or something, join a multiplayer, and then
Wait, it's just, yeah. I wanted to revisit this topic, and I think it's worth revisiting way down the line again to see how sales actually went in the long term. Because,
right.
Games can change that, and they can do different hardware versions where they can upgrade the battery life to probably like 6 hours, maybe even more, and which I still think is too low. But I think you're getting around 6, that might be a little acceptable. But I mean, I think I heard something like almost 3 hours battery life with Zelda.
Yeah, yeah.
What? What? Why do you even have a portable console at that point? I'm serious. Wait, what? How is that's barely a road trip one way?
Which is why the whole portable element. And I'll be honest, the whole time I've even been thinking about the Switch, I really haven't thought about it as a portable console. I hear the Switch and I really think about this as Nintendo's next. Sit down, plug it in, leave it at
That's
home.
even weaker.
Yeah, but that's the conundrum, though, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm thinking from the perspective: if I were to go out and buy a Switch today, how would I use it? What would I do? And hands down, I really don't think I'd travel with it at all. Like even before looking at the cost of accessories and all that, which has driven me away from that even more, of course. Even before that, I don't see myself running around too much.
Well, a lot of the reviews I saw, well, you have the two games. You have Zelda and you have the other game. I forget the other game's name. Do you remember it?
It's I'll have it.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, what I would read and what I would hear about it is that everybody thinks Zelda's great. They think that's a great game. I didn't watch any specific reviews on it, but everyone thought that was a great game. But if you're a hardcore fan, I mean, this thing has been out 3.5 weeks, I think, at this point. You're already done. You're done. And maybe you're not, but I think you probably are. What do you?
Yeah, I think and by the way, a second game, I thought it was Breath of the Wild.
No, I think that's the name. Oh God.
No, wait, no,
All right.
that's I'm sorry, that's the other title to the second title of Zelda.
Yeah.
The full title is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. My bad. I'll have to keep going on that.
All right. Well, I can talk some nonsense for a few more minutes, but it's just it's upsetting. You can hear I'm upset about this because I want them to do well. Like I said, I want Nintendo to come out with the next great console. I want them to dominate again. I mean, that's just pure childhood nostalgia. But this thing
Yeah.
it's not good.
Boo.
Okay,
Yes.
so that was 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know. Now I know Mario early adopters. You got a hold of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was going to have Switch specific DLC with it. But what I thought was now the whole thing about like there only be 2 titles available, and I thought this from launch day, including the eStore. See, I thought there was a report of more being available there, not just there's you could physically pick up. You had let's walk through these. Of course, as I just mentioned, Legend of Zelda,
Mhm.
1-2 Switch.
That's it right there.
Okay, that is it for the okay. The 1-2 Switch. Then the others I think available via eStore and a few other spots. Skylanders, Imaginators,
Yeah.
Just Dance 2017, Super Bomberman R, World of Goo, Little Inferno, Human Resource Machine. I don't know. I Am Setsuna. That sounds interesting.
Wait a second. You actually you mentioned that you don't know one of those games. You know what World of Goo is?
No. Human Resource Machine.
Right, but do you know what World of Goo is?
No.
Okay, all right. So I was gonna say how
I
that actually sounds fairly interesting. Maybe I'm gonna change my mind here. No, I'm not. It's yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm still. I'll be the doomsayer. It's still going to do really bad. This is a bad concept, and there were no reviews or anything that was surprising at all. It,
Now,
yeah.
while I didn't have as much about the launch games themselves, here's one thing. Here's things being said. This was on Kotaku as well, and a few other spots. That the projected release window for Switch, though, is what's the gold here. I mean, okay, let's face it. Right now, Zelda is going to be the big main title, carrying things. But they say, if you look at the window going into April and going into beyond, that's when things lighten up a bit. You get Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in full late April.
Mhm.
Obviously, that's going to be huge. Of course, there's a whole host of sports games that are going to be out, and everything ranging from FIFA and NBA. I think that's kind of par for the course, though. Whenever you're talking console, I know Ultra Street Fighter 2. That's one I've seen talked about actually quite a bit.
Wait a second, Ultra Street Fighter 2?
Yeah, it's called Ultra Street Fighter 2: The Final Challengers.
Well, you're the big Street Fighter fan. What's that about?
Yeah, right.
Is that a remake of Street Fighter 2?
Sort of is, yeah. And man, we've had Turbo, Mega, Ultra at everything at this point already, right? Oh man.
I see them grabbing for the niche, and I can't blame them for that. That's a smart move, but they don't have enough broad interest, I think, to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, years back when when Street Fighter 2 was re-released, and you had Udon Comics come and assist with the actual character models and everything, and giving the original old school Street Fighter 2 its gameplay, but it kind of a bit of a facelift with current hand drawn characters and everything. That went over really well in the SF community. Street Fighter 2 was still super beloved because this is the game people remember getting into SF with and in arcades. And it's been steadily, tweaked with, messed with, little updates and everything here and there. And it's still people still tune into this. Look, you can go to Evo or about a lot of the different majors and find some kind of side event for SF2 or something happening somewhere. It's still big, and I think that's
crazy.
It's nuts, right? I mean, what gets me about that is you had a game like Street Fighter Third Strike, largely regarded as probably one of the most technical SFs out there, and had one of the most hardcore followings to it. And yet, I swear I see SF2 creep in that territory and really be the sort of game that people end up migrating back to eventually, or to play because it's so universal, and I think accessible. The thing I think that keeps Third Strike sort of on and off the table is, yeah, it's accessible. It's a Street Fighter game, but the whole finesse to it, how well you can parry, for example, how precise you are with your inputs. Third Strike is extremely precise with that, and a few other technical things. Probably some people who are on the outside of SF or what I don't play all the time probably won't be as attracted to that as they would SF2. You can you walk in, you sit down. Oh my God, SF2 arcade! I remember this. Oh well.
I'm waiting for you to come back home.
I am home. I'm on the release schedule. We got you had a few others. You ever heard of Wonder Boy, Dragon's Trap?
Oh, I don't think so.
And there's a lot of adventure games here. Zombie Vikings, Red Out. I thought it was interesting too. There's Terraria slated for it. I could keep going. Xenoblade Chronicles. Argue that's going to be a big deal. Siberia, talked a bit about that on the gaming release show a bit back. Siberia 3 is going to also be on Switch. Honestly, there's a pretty good run. And look at this, Sonic Mania, that's going to be hitting on the other mainline consoles we got. That'll be available on Switch too. I'd love to play that on Switch. So it feels a lot of the stuff that you might think you'd miss, right? Or you still get it here. So.
You know what I think I'm going to do?
Huh.
You know what I think I'm going to do on a semi-regular basis on the show?
Hmm.
I'm going to heckle the Switch.
Is it?
One or two things are going to happen. I'm either going to be really right or I'm going to be really wrong. And if I'm really wrong, then I'm going to get a Switch, and then I'll just become the biggest fanboy. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think every once in a while, I'll just bring up some really bad stats for the Switch and how the sales are going, and maybe some reviews. Yeah, maybe that's not the best for us. Maybe because we're going to piss off Nintendo fanboys, but I'm going to be honest with you. There's not that many of them left.
It could be the whole point counterpoint thing. I mean, look, my whole prospectus for the hope in the release schedule and things like that. Okay, that might evaporate. You know, as time actually goes on and we actually get this stuff and we see what the numbers are like. All right, maybe that makes no impact at all. But you know what? Based on your games, Nintendo, I'll give you some time. Give the benefit of the doubt. We'll see where it goes.
No.
So.
All right. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hey, you know, in the big picture, look, the Switch really feels really experimental. But that's not far-fetched for Nintendo. It's for a company, they got a history of doing experimental game consoles. Fundamentally, I think it gets its goal across. The whole pushes the Switch idea like crazy in all ways. Any new type of gaming piece or hardware you get, that gets defined by the games you play. I find it interesting we're having the Switch has involved such a discussion now about function, so heavily interwoven into that. You know, the Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, so you keep going back. You know, I didn't care two licks of what that looked like. I saw Sega and it's like, hey, I can play all the Sonic games in this. I can play Streets of Rage. I can play, like Echo the Dolphin. I can play Vector Man. Sweet. Sign me up. Nintendo 64, freaking GoldenEye. Do I need to say anything else? But
we don't have to go through some of the things that Nintendo did right.
No, we just got to talk what they did wrong.
Well, no, because you bring that up. Well, we've talked about it plenty in the past.
Yeah, we have.
You bring that up then, and then one of the biggest blunders that Nintendo ever did was they released the company that made GoldenEye. They released them from their contract. They didn't renew them.
Yeah, true. Hey, true. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, so this I'm gonna have fun with this. This is gonna be great.
It will be funny. Tell you what would be really funny if that repeats again. E.g., let's say you get one of those games on the release schedule is a hit, and later on they'll let go.
This thing's gonna bomb. It's gonna bomb big. They're gonna push it for a year and a half, and then at that point, it's gonna just die away. And in 3 years, people are gonna look at it and be like, "Yeah, remember the Switch." All right.
At the very least, at least it doesn't have the kind of weird awkwardness when the Sega 32X came out, or when, like people were talking about Virtual Boy and stuff. That felt so forced.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially because Sega was trying to pitch, hey, here's the 32-bit revolution, and it wasn't.
This feels forced.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, I'm not. I'm being cynical and joking. No, this feels forced. This concept feels forced. This doesn't feel natural.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what feels natural is what people have naturally done. They have their PCs, they have their gaming consoles, they have their phones, they have their handhelds. No one asked for an all-in-one system. There was no clamoring for it.
And even now, the biggest hope I'm speaking about, which is game-wise, that's interesting. Because look, I'm really in same hand equivocating that on the same basis I would on any other console. So you say, all right, if it's about the games, why not about everything else? Just PS4 and all the others. This whole multiplayer component, or the whole like convertible component and portability, I'm not concerned about that right now at all. It's really not a factor. So if they can sell people in games, more power to them. That model holding up, it's going to be heavily tested.
All right.
See what happens.
Let's quit beating the horse.
Oh, there'll be plenty of room for it. Enough coming
well, let's quit beating the horse tonight.
All right, deal.
Let's talk about Legion.
These last couple of episodes, we've had 6 and 7 because we put
7 and 8.
7 and 8. I'm sorry, we put 7 off for tonight.
Yeah, which wasn't on purpose, but then when it happened, it seemed like a good idea.
Yeah, because they correlate right along. I think we were both on a bit of a consensus that episode 7 is probably one of the best episodes of Legion we've had so far.
I found it the most entertaining of the series.
Same. Look, we've talked about pacing issues a lot on Legion. We're always enthralled to see what the next episode is going to bring, but sometimes it drags in places where you have to really wait for the exposition. Here, this was spot on in so many ways.
Can I throw us into spoiler territory right away?
Hit it.
Considering we're talking about the end of the season.
Hit it.
Okay. So we got a glimpse, and literally a glimpse of them in episode 7, showing that Professor Xavier is his son,
right?
Or his
right.
father. His father.
Right.
Literally a glimpse of a wheelchair wheel. I have to say, it was a little upsetting. I had been told that they were going to flat out name drop him in the season finale. They didn't.
Right.
But you did get it. You get enough references. But yeah, episode 7, chapter 7, I think it stands out the best because I think there is the most payoff for all the buildup from the rest of the season. It also has the most development in the story. Yeah.
No, definitely. And it's funny. It's one of those moments that if you turned away from your screen too long, you might miss it.
Yeah.
It was subtle, but it was a good nod, letting you know, hey, this is where some of this is heading. Really, really like that. Also, this was really David's coming about. He has spent so much of this series as a prisoner, sort of on the run from his own mind, on the run from his own abilities, that this is where he actually really took his stand and embraced more of what he is, and I think more importantly of what he can be. So and especially because you have this Inception-like moment of what's actually happening with time on the outside. You've got bullets flying there right about to hit David and all of his friends, and then you have this whole subplot that's happening within that. Okay, how do we prevent this? How do we get around the parasite who has put us in this paralysis, who's isolated David, who's separated all of us, but who's monitoring everything at the same time, and construct a plan to go about and thwart that. And when it all kicks off, it's crazy because you have the parasite essentially playing 2 or 3 roles, trying to stop everything else that's going on. Ultimately fails, of course. It's funny, gets imprisoned himself. Farouk. But
that is such a pro wrestler's name, by the way.
I keep hearing that, and I remember I laughed first time I heard it because I heard Farouk and I thought it was a Nation of Domination.
That isn't just like a pro wrestler. That is a pro
wrestler. Yeah. Nation of Domination, and then of course, he went to the Acolytes. It's Farouk and Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's what he would do all the time. He said it once, and then that was his whole career. He'd just look at things and be like, "Damn." That's right. This was cool. Episode 7 definitely the best. 8 was okay as well. 7 had the biggest payoff. They got out of the astral plane. Very cool to see more Oliver. I was liking that character, although I don't. Is he a mutant?
Okay. Here, I didn't think he was. In his power set is really, I don't have any basis for that. To provide, I don't even have any prehistory or anything to give about that. I didn't think he was off the bat though. I just thought he was able to, sort of on borrowed power, able to do the type of manipulation he does. But I didn't. I don't know. I didn't think that was a natural ability. At least it wasn't stated clearly enough.
Yeah, very very interesting. So yeah, but you get more Oliver. They get out of the astral plane. Also very interesting. It's kind of weird because everybody has these really weird mutant abilities, except for the one telekinetic guy, and I don't think he ever says a single word in the whole season.
No.
And then he's the only one that I don't. Is he dead? I don't think he died. But he certainly
Uh,
got stabbed by something, and it looks like he's bleeding to death, and that's
yeah,
why he's comatose in the astral plane.
right, right.
But I don't think he's actually dead. I don't even think you get his name.
No, I don't remember. I don't think you do. For some reason, when I'm thinking of these episodes side by side, I think of deaths, and I think of that crazy twist slash break bend out of existence for the
Oh
eye.
my god, that was crazy.
That was nuts. And not only did he kill him in their imprisonment and where they were, but he actually killed his actual body too.
The
Like,
same way.
so nuts.
I know that was crazy because at first it's like, oh well, he's just gonna bleed because his bones got crushed inside or something. And then like when they came out and then he just like crunched up into a little ball like he did in the astral plane. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah. Wild,
I could have
wild.
sworn because he was a mutant, and I
He
could have
was.
sworn that they were going to keep him around, maybe even put him as a regular part of the show. But nope, hey, he's dead.
That's that, man.
Right, right. So, um, what else is there to say about episode 7? I mean, it was the payoff. You
Yeah,
get you get the biggest obvious hint of who David's father is, and
right.
you get most of the payoff there. What else is there to say about episode 7?
I think just how David finds his center and
Mm-hmm.
goes with his logical side to do what he needs to do. It's the line that connects him to it more than anything else, more than explaining the entire situation, walking through it rationally. It's when he says the words for himself that he's loved, and
Yeah.
he realizes that. And it's funny because he doesn't spend time where it's sort of just like an afterthought. All right, right, I'm loved, whatever. Then he goes on and actually starts making the plan, but it doesn't seem until that clicks. That's when he really puts everything into gear and is like, you know what? I don't have to be here unless I choose to be here. And this is a space that I can claim. This is a space that I can manipulate and take back. And what was, I think, what so many of us were rooting for. What I was rooting for as well. I'm like, okay, this guy is so powerful. Once he realizes that the limitations that are getting imposed on him are all things he can break, and he is more powerful than this parasite, he's going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So,
And he
uh,
is.
yeah, for sure. But that does not in any way take away from Lenny slash the Parasite's just pure, just hell bent motivation to stay around.
Right, right.
The scene that really hit me in episode 8 is when he journeys inward again, and he finds visits with the Parasite,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in like a paralysis, but even after everything has happened, after all of its imprisonment and whatnot, it's just bound and determined, saying, like, I'm not going to leave. And it just basically refuses to give up this notion of giving up and taking David's power. Which,
But by the way, before we go past it, I think
yeah,
it's noteworthy to bring up the whole classroom chalkboard scene with
yeah,
David and Rational
with,
David.
with his with his logic, yeah, yeah,
That was pretty
yeah,
good. Of course, you get to see the more hints of Professor X.
yeah, with the
He's long.
British,
Well, yeah, and the character on the chalkboard is bald.
yep,
But he's walking around though, which is kind of weird, especially since the other reference was a wheelchair. But
right,
whatever. Yeah, that was just really well done. The animation on that CG was really good on that.
yeah,
Yeah, that was really well done. I thought that was great.
yeah, same, and I think it's a light point, but I think the whole walking point is something that interesting to highlight. David really doesn't have much of a reference point at all for Professor X. I mean,
Right.
if he was to think of, okay, I had a father before my foster parents, sort of what they'd be, or even if he had a very vague minor outline, that's pretty much the best way he could sort of sketch that out in his mind, the best image he could conjure. And I think back to the few times in the X-Men series when Professor X actually could walk.
Mhm.
There were a couple of occasions where that happened, including, I know, in the animated series when him and Magneto were together. Um, I want to say, I could be wrong in this. I want to say there was a moment in First Class.
Well,
Obviously,
yeah, he could walk in most of first class.
before I thought there was something else after he was injured. Maybe it was the second movie.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
it
know.
was, Days of Future Past
There you
because
go.
he's taking that. what would you call it? That I guess I'll just call it a drug. He was taking that drug that Beast came up with to control abilities, but
There
he was
you
taking
go.
more of it, so it was completely inepting his mutant abilities, but it allowed him to walk.
There you go. There you go. Hits on the head. So there's been a few times, but anyway, that was David's, the best reference point he could conjure. But hey, it got the point across. Also in terms of stylistic devices, might I add, the touch of silent film was freaking genius.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool.
Freaking genius. I loved how that whole scene went down. I love the narration to it. It had enough of a kind of humorous touch made you laugh in a situation that was like nail bitingly serious. So cool, very
Mm-hmm.
cool. No,
Yeah, so episode 8. I have to be honest with you. I don't. There wasn't a lot here. There was a lot of filler. I thought. Interesting to see everybody. You had a moment there where actually I think it was at the end of 7 where everything seemed like it was going to be okay.
right?
Yeah, that was at the end of 7. Then you go into 8. Interesting to see I didn't even catch his name. The character from the first episode that he gets all burned up. He seems like he's going to be a returning character now. Like he's going to be actually part of the cast. Yeah, but I thought 8 was more filler than anything. I mean, you have this final confrontation with Farouk, and
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting. Um, but overall, I felt
yeah,
like at the end of it, the show kind of fell kind of flat at the end.
yeah. I thought the the fellow with all the burns it get was it Clark?
Oh, I don't even remember.
It was I know he was the Vision 3 like interrogator.
Yeah,
Whenever he showed
yeah.
it, right?
I think he would. Well, I don't know if he. Well, maybe. I think you're right. I think interrogator is probably the right word for it.
And we went through the sort of semi side history of everything that
Mm.
happened on his end and like the group that he'd encountered and everything. But uh, the whole thing about Clark really sort of just gave you, I think, just another glimpse at hey, some extra tension, maybe another antagonist like in the Zero Hour, uh, or maybe even uh, I don't know, I almost want to say they're trying to make an artistic statement with that. Because see, so much of Legion has been an art statement, just aesthetically how they've told that.
Yeah.
Heck, I think there can even be an argument made for that Clark sort of represented like humanity's like less attractive qualities, like less
Hmm.
attractive part. So, uh, I mean, especially I think that it's given a little additional weight because I mean the way Legions, I mean, even presented villains. I mean, we see Clark's recovery home uh, and also just like the extent of his injuries and everything else like that, and the fact that there's so much focus on it just can't help you uh, can't help but make you think a bit about it. But everything's so deliberate in the show, from the way a scene is shot, I think, to the way it's set up, that it causes you to pay attention to those things. And heck, thinking about 8 overall, because really, like you guys, really just looking for a lot of the broader plot points. I think this was worth watching twice. There seem to be some. It really feels like there's some subtleties here, not just hints for season 2, but other themes that they're playing at, and I think they might not make more sense until we're even later in Legion. We'll see.
So overall, what'd you think of the season? I mean, and everything was to be judged by this. I mean, they weren't even sure that they were going to be doing a second season. They just announced it, I think, within the last 2 weeks. What did you think of season 1? What did you think of Legion so far? Will you be watching next season?
Will I be watching? Yes, for sure. While again, my biggest thing about it is there's so many points of character expansion. They're followable. I never got lost in any of it, of course, but um, the pace. I wonder how that's going to be influenced or how that will change. There were definitely some points where things kind of pulled or dragged, but even then, I don't think it had as much of a crippling area to come out of as say Iron Fist did. I felt watching Iron Fist, I really had to stick along with that longer. But then once that broke, we're gone. The awkward
Hmm.
thing about Legion is that you're in gear, you're out of gear, you're in gear, you're out of gear, and you don't know when you're going to get hit with that low gear episode again. And just when you get amped up and when then you get back down.
By the way, did you watch the after credit scene at the end of season or end of episode 8?
Okay, now to make sure I got this right, was that thing that
The ball.
David meets that orb? Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. I actually just so happened to see that. I immediately switched my attention to something else after the show was done, and I looked over, and I was like, oh hey,
Yeah.
after credit scene. Hey, we don't normally do that for the TV shows. Um, eh, so
Yeah.
so overall, you grade the season. What do you think?
Uh, you know what? I enjoyed this. I am going to give Legion an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Okay.
And I know that is similar to, for different reasons, similar to where I sat with Logan, movie-wise. But I'm thinking TV series-wise, just because this has piqued my interest so much. I think season 2 is going to drastically alter that opinion for good or bad.
I,
Especially depending how this goes pace-wise. So,
I give it a letter grade. I give it a D.
D for doofus.
Whoa. All right.
Now,
No,
how come?
I give it a D. Because man, look, this was a beautiful show. Uh, there's aesthetically there's a lot of pleasing things going on here, and I will tune in to season 1 of episode 2. I will give it a shot. At the end of the day, this was an interesting experience, but also at the end of the day, this is not the experience they told us we would get.
Yeah.
This has been a reoccurring complaint of mine throughout our conversations. This show is not the show they said it would be. I think we got a bait and switch. I was
Mm-hmm.
really interested to see if they would have the balls to pull off the show that they said they were going to do, and they didn't.
Right. Fair
They
enough.
didn't, and I'm not mad about it. It's like, crappy X-Men and hang out with DC. You guys both suck and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not like that. But we didn't get it. Now we
Yeah.
did get something else, and what we got was very interesting. That being said, the show. I don't want to say it lacked substance because while it did lack a lot of plot,
Yeah.
it made up in substance in other ways. I'm going to give it another shot. We'll give it half a year, and when it comes back for season 2, and I don't care anymore about how it was weak on its original premise,
Yeah.
we'll see if I still care. We'll see. We'll see if that still matters to me. I mean, there's a lot of intriguing things here. You've got Oliver now out of the astral plane as well, doing his thing with Lenny, with Farouk. You've got a lot of interesting things
Yeah.
here. What is Fox going to do with this show? Is it going to connect with the X-Men universe? Is it not? What are their plans with that? And what are the implications of that if it does? While it's a little off-putting to me that all the mutants are so freaking weird, and the only one that didn't have any kind of weird abilities is basically the punching bag for the show.
Yeah.
Are they going to continue that? At the same time, it's off-putting, but it's still very intriguing.
It is. And I think overall, just hearing that, I think, well, you got, I think you got a lot, you got stuff to gain opinion-wise. I think I have a lot to lose. That is, I am heavily relying on season 2, and I am so patient with this because of how it's grabbed me, it's intrigued me. This could all fall apart terribly, and I could have something really bad to say next season. Because honestly, if it goes well, I could see my rating hanging. If not, I'm probably going to drop to like a 2 or 1 or something. Because like you set this up for, yeah, don't know if I could deal with that.
They've changed what little I know of Legion from the comics. This is hardly the same character.
Oh, hardly, and
And
that's a huge change to note.
that's okay, because that's honestly what I come to expect from Fox and the X-Men. And I try not to be cynical, but that is the truth. I really enjoyed the idea of the original premise of the show. They said they were going to take on this character. And while I guess technically the season and the show was about his schizophrenia, I feel like we were catfished a bit.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
there is a lot to confront with that, because I can't think of another hero who has such a direct. I put hero in quotations. Who has such a direct issue? It's like how do you treat that? how do you roll that into a character? So
So I'm going to give it, especially because that ending, that after credit scene was very interesting. It's like
yeah,
Jesus, these guys can't catch a fucking break for even a day. And
no,
here we go. This little orb shows up and fucking Star Trek scans them and sucks them in. It's like, oh
yep.
well, okay.
Oh man,
That's a thing that just happened. But with what we've seen from the show so far, that could be really interesting, or David could just break out of it in a second
yep,
because he decided to.
yep,
So, and it's one of those things. There is kind of a Superman complex to this. Is like, all right, so what do you do when your lead character can basically do anything?
yeah,
Well, okay, if you can find some interesting stories, that could be really intriguing. So,
or not.
for those reasons, I'm still interested. I will tune into the first episode of the next season. At the same time, we were catfished.
Can't argue.
Yeah,
So
I'm just a negative, pessimistic guy this week.
it's all right. That's why I'm here.
You know why it is? Because I wanted to do my low sexy voice, and you made fun of it.
I may. You say, hey,
Don't be catfish.
no, you can do low and sexy all day. I just said don't go on a jazz station. I don't.
Oh yeah.
I love it. So hey, thank you all for tuning in. Remember, feel free. You can like, favorite, comment, subscribe, and be sure to drop us an email. You got opinions? You really mad about how you got catfish, Legion? Maybe not. Maybe you just love the bait. Maybe you ate it all up. Who knows?
Yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think.
Yeah, drop us a line, please. That's ksawmedia@gmail.com. But until next time, we're out of here. So take it easy. You have a great weekend and be safe.